Hello and welcome to episode 48 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. Today we are already joined by Miss Poppy. I don't know if you can hear her purring. I won't leave the camera tilted down because it's a very unflattering angle of me. However beautiful the poppins is. Anyway, before we begin, I need to issue a disclaimer. With tongue firmly in cheek though it might be. If you happen to be frogging a project, for example, whilst watching this podcast, and you inadvertently go further than you intended to, the management, myself, Miss Poppy, and Peter, who is the unofficial podcast manager or self-elected podcast manager, accept no responsibility for your error. Thank you. Please call again. That's not directed at anyone in particular, Karen, but I just thought I'd put it out there just in case. Anyway, what have we been up to today? I'm sorry I'm doing strange things with my hands. I am desperately trying to get my very, very dry skin to look decent around my nails. So I've just put oil on. I'm trying to put oil on 2 or 3 times a day at the moment, and it's working. With a light hand cream every time I wash my hands. Speaking of washing things, I did straighten my hair yesterday, but a bit of it got damp in the shower, and so it's reverted to kind of wavy, curly, whatever. And I'm not straightening it again, so yeah. I have finished a pair of socks. Let's see if I can make the light a bit better. Hang on a second. I think that's a bit better. These I actually began in October when I did my sock along last year. This was the last pair that I never got finished, and I knit this one and then I paused until a couple of weeks ago when I cast this one on. They're looking as though they kind of match here. They don't really. They are definitely sisters, not twins. Not least of all because, and I don't know if you can see, I did a heel flap and gusset. It was a stocking stitch heel flap rather than a slip stitch one. But the gusset on this sock is considerably shorter than the gusset on the second sock. I've no idea what I did back in October, but they fit okay, so I'm not worrying about it. I'm entering them, as I am all my socks this year, into Denise Deer's Year of the Sock 2022. The prompt for April is pastels. You don't have to follow the prompt, it's just to give you a bit of an idea if you don't know what to knit. I'm calling this Gothic pastel. I think that fits them perfectly. The yarn I've used is Rico Superba Melange Jacquard in, now I never know which is the colour and which is the lot number, dye lot number. So it's either 005 or 563. I think probably 005, as that's the one that's printed on and the other one looks like it's stamped on. Don't know if you can see there. Anyway, as you can see, it's a very dark variegated yarn, which is just exactly up my street. I am rather fond of the dark variegateds, as you know, and I'm saving all my dark variegated scraps to make a scrappy pair. I've got this, I've got some very dark, almost black from Ducky Darlings that came in a mini set, and my favourite Toil and Trouble from My Yarny Corner. I've got some of that already. I've probably got enough to do a pair now. Yeah, I might have a look at that and can see. I have cast on 2 new pairs of socks though, because I'd finished those, and that meant I had no socks on the needles. And I don't like to have no socks on the needles. One pair I'm not going to bother and show you because I've literally done half the ribbing, so I might show you those next week. There might even be one on the way to being finished next week. But this is the second one. Hang on, what have I done here? This one I'm knitting with what was left of my Whistle Bear mohair sock yarn. And all the times I've shown it to you, I've not told you what the colourway was called. It was called Storm Warning. It's only written in like 1/2-inch high letters on the label. Having a moment, several moments in fact. So this is knitting up really prettily. It's micro striping on one side, and I'm using it with, for the toes and heels and possibly cuff, though I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to, it depends how much yarn I've got. That's why I'm doing them toe up, because I don't know how far I can go with the yarn I've got. I may put on a contrasting cuff, or I may just leave them as a roll top, so no ribbing, just a roll top. And the contrast yarn I'm using is Drops Fable Unicolor in 200, which is just a medium grey. It goes really well with them. The other pair I'm knitting in, I'm calling them my Easter socks because I'm knitting them in a very, very pale brown, dark beige, which is sort of a milk chocolatey colour, and I think it's a King Cole zigzag that's all very muted yellows and browns, and it looks a bit like a mini egg basically. I've been a bit mini egg obsessed. I'm not going to show you my triangulum, but I sorted out the next round of colours for it because they will be over the Easter weekend. They'll be coming into the blanket, and I've done something a little differently. So far every hexagon has had 3 colours put in it twice. Well, this time I've chosen 6 different colours. They're all scraps, but oh gosh, and they're getting away from me. They all remind me of mini eggs or Easter. So that's going to be my next hexagon, and it's going to have 6 entirely different triangles. Oh, that one's proper run away. Sorry, Pops. I'll get it in a minute. I'll get it in a minute, because if I try and get it now, I'll get my arm stuck down the side of the rocking chair, which I did twice at the weekend, and I squashed one of my fingers between the rocking chair and this cupboard. So I don't really want to do that with an audience. Bad enough without an audience. So yeah, so those 2 hexagons are going to be Easter themed. I had hoped to have a second finished object, but I ran out of yarn. And because I'd run out of yarn, I had to break my yarn fast. I went on to Wool Warehouse, and we all know where this is going, don't we? Because it's kind of the law that when you order yarn from Wool Warehouse, you have to spend the £25 to get the free postage. I know, don't judge me. So I bought the ball of yarn that I needed for the project, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But then I also bought this. I do really like pink. I don't wear a huge amount of it. And I like strong pinks. Well, I showed you once my raincoat, which is proper highlighter pink. I am not getting run over in any way, shape or form. Daylight, nighttime, dimly lit streets, nothing can miss me in that. And in fact, I've got it's called Dayglow vest that goes over my bike jacket with the strips on them. Oh gosh, I can't think what they're called. Another brain burp moment. But they light up, you know the things I mean. Runners wear them, and motorcyclists and cyclists, and it looks grey until a light hits it, and then it lights up, and that's shocking pink as well. So I bought this with a view to making some socks later in the year, maybe a couple of pairs if I'm careful, and if I use contrasting heels, toes and sometimes cuffs, I can get 2 pairs of socks out of a ball for myself because of the size. Sometimes I have to do like what I call trainer socks, so shorties, and my normal sock leg length, which is about 15 centimetres including the rib. So I bought that. I also bought, because I had to get up to the £25 because it is the law, I bought 5 balls of Stylecraft Special DK in black with a view to something that I want to make later in the year. And I know when it comes to making it, I'm going to be cursing the fact that I bought black and moaning to you every week that I bought black. But the trouble is, whilst knitting in black is a bit of a challenge, I do wear a lot of black and I do like it. So I'd like to knit myself at least one hand knit jumper in black. Possibly will end up being more, but there may be things that I need to knit over the summer so that I've got good lighting. Well, I say good lighting. Here we are, nearly the middle of April, and it's pretty grim out there today. Oh, big black cat. I've talked about little black cat, who's quite sweet. Big black cat is in the garden. Luckily, Miss Poppy hasn't noticed. I'm going to show you, hang on. There, do you see him there? Sat on top of the shed. Cheeky devil. It's very naughty. Short segue there into Cat Wars. Rose is out on the bench underneath the shed, on guard. Sorry, Pops. I woke Poppy up. Sorry, Poppy. Rose has got the situation under control. Poppy can sleep. It's fine. Right, yes. So the reason I went on to Wool Warehouse and bought a load of yarn that I wasn't supposed to was because I needed another ball of this. For my Stephen West Botanic shawl, I had 42 rows and the I-cord bind off on one edge left to do, and I'd run out of yarn. I'd used a whole ball. I'd used 2 little, I think I had about 15 grams sculling about in the drawer, and I had no more. And somebody suggested on Zoom, why don't you see if anyone else in our friend group has got any? But really, I'm the only person that uses black sock yarn, because everyone else has far more sense, quite honestly. So I had to buy this, and having to buy this, it would have been right. Okay, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you are a knitting person of some description, might be crochet. You will understand the logic of not wanting to pay half the price of the ball for postage when I could buy some more things and not pay any postage. It's logical, really. It's not just the law. It makes perfect sense economically and for the environment, because that postal van was going to bring me a parcel whether it had 1 ball in it or 7 balls. So it might as well have 7 balls in, because then I'm saving the environment. Does that sound like excuses? I'm very sorry. Anyway, I bought the ball. I'm not ashamed. It didn't want to travel alone. It had to have some friends. So, as I say, I'd hoped to have this finished. Clearly I haven't. I'm almost there. I am, where are we? That's where it was when you saw it last week. My little piece of Christmas cake, and I've done all of that much since. I've finished the main body and I'm now on to the border. I'm in fact halfway through the border, so I've got exactly that much again, and then the I-cord bind off. The I-cord bind off just on this edge. The other two edges are done as you go. So I'm quite confident I can get it finished tomorrow being Thursday. I need it finished before Saturday because I need this needle, or at least I need these needle tips. This is on my pony interchangeables for the cast on party on Saturday, because I'm going to make, prepare yourselves, another rocket tea. I know, but I enjoy the pattern. This is a rocket tea. This is the first one that I finished, the second one that I attempted, and it's a very versatile pattern. I've already knit this one, which is all in one yarn. I've knit my green one, which is in 3 different yarns striped, and I put on some slightly longer sleeves. And there's my original attempt, which I intend to go back to probably sometime during the summer, which is knit as the pattern suggests with a 4-ply and a mohair. So that's 3 different varieties, and I'm about to try a 4th. So it's a very versatile pattern. It's very size inclusive. My last one came out a little smaller than this. I used the same size, but obviously I must have knitted a little bit more tightly. So I'm going to knit a slightly larger size for my next one. So I need to get this finished, and I need to get it finished tomorrow or Friday because I need these needle tips on Saturday, and I don't want to take them off the cable, which is what I did last time. Last time there was a cast on party. Excuse me, have a drink. Last time there was a cast on party, I took them off the needles and used them for a different project, and then of course I couldn't knit this until I'd finished that, and so I want to make sure it gets finished this time because it's been hanging around since Christmas Day. It was my Christmas Day cast on. So whilst I'd hope to have it finished to show you today, you will see it next week, hopefully all finished and blocked and in its full enormousness. It's quite big. As I say, I've not quite finished, and it's already my full arm span, and I can't really stretch it out because the cable's not long enough. It's probably 3/4 of that length wide. At the moment, you're still increasing as you go, so it's going to be a big one. But I do like it, and I do intend to knit another one. As I mentioned last week, I would like to do one in with cream replacing the black, and I've seen some Zorba Ball, that's because the other yarn that you use is Zorba Ball, that's oranges and purples. Yes. So I think that's what I might do next time. I might ask for those for my birthday, and then I'll have a nice brightly coloured one for probably about this time next year, thinking about it. So I am obviously knitting it in West Yorkshire Spinners Licorice and Zorba Ball Storm Warning, which is still available. I did see it when I was looking on Wool Warehouse, and at one point I had £60 in my cart, and I could break my yarn fast for things that I needed, but I couldn't just put stuff in there because it was pretty. So I took a lot of stuff back out, and then I took a lot of stuff back out and I was down to £18, and then I had to add the Starcraft to bring it back up to the 25. I think I managed 25.43 or 25.93. I didn't do too badly, I don't think. Right, let me just have another drink before we move on to the next exciting thing. Speaking of exciting things, before I show you the next couple of things, I've been watching a couple of new podcasts. Well, new to me. One of them is new. The other one is just new to me. The one that's new is called Wool and Wishes. And it's two ladies. They're sisters-in-law. And they're only... The last one I saw was episode 2. They are very new. But they are producing some very lovely things. And they're English. Might be worth a look if that's your cup of tea. They don't need my help at all. Their subscriber numbers are like, first week they had over 500 people subscribing. So they really don't need my help. But I'm very much enjoying watching them and thought I would share it with you. If you do go and watch them, drop them a comment and let them know I sent you, because I'd like them to know that the knitting podcasting community is supporting them. The second one, and this lady's been going for a while, is a lady in Canada, and her name is Alice, and her podcast is SoxyNana Alice. Again, if you like my podcast where someone just rambles at you and shows you their knitting, Alice is very much the same thing but with a Canadian accent. So that's also worth a look. I know Alice watches the channel, my channel, that is, not her own, though she probably watches her own. You have to kind of look back through it and make sure that it's all gone up, it's all uploaded properly, but that's different to watching it. I'm getting off onto a tangent again. Yes, so pop along if you've got time and if you're in the mood for something new. SoxyNana Alice and Wool and Wishes. If I can, I will link them both below. Wanted to get that in before I moved on to something else. The other thing I wanted to mention, and again it's a lady who needs no help from me whatsoever, Finished Knitting Stories. Jana is her name. Her last podcast, she hasn't podcasted for a few weeks. Her last podcast is worth a watch if you don't watch it already. I watched her this morning and ended up in tears. It's not the easiest watch, but it is worth watching and showing her a little bit of support. So I just thought I would chuck that out there into the ether, as it were, as well, while I'm on the subject of other podcasts. Right, moving on to lighter things and removing the poppy hair. I've made some progress on my Flax Light. Sorry, this is probably blinding you all. I should have given you a put your sunglasses on warning. I've got down to the dividing for the sleeves, and then I did one more row, and I'd had enough. By last night I had had enough. I lost a lot of knitting time yesterday because I had another hospital appointment, so I am quite tired and painful and achy today. I haven't even put any makeup on. I put a bit of tinted lip gloss to try and give myself some colour, because I didn't really choose the best clothing to add a bit of colour to myself, but never mind. And I divided for the sleeves, and then you have to, this isn't giving anything away, a lot of patterns do this, backwards loop, some stitches to fill in the gap where you've taken the sleeve out. And by the time I got round to the first lot, they had pulled so tight. Oh my God. My husband came up, he brought me this. It's a little pot full of jelly beans. I don't eat many sweets. In fact, I haven't tried one yet, but he brought them up for me to try. And he sort of stuck his head in here and he went, "Everything going well?" I just went, "I'm having a nightmare." Okay. He left me alone Oh, there's the doorbell. Left me alone for about another 2 hours. They'd pulled so tight. I was having to ease them along the needle with my fingernail to a point where I could pick out an individual stitch and then pull it so that the loose bit of yarn, which was now about that long, pull it all through that stitch, then do the same with the next one. Oh God, it took forever. And by the time I'd done that and knitted that row, I was done. I went to bed. So I have finished the yoke. I've put in the sleeve holder thingies. I've tried it on. It's coming out a little larger than I expected, but that's okay. And I did add the short row shaping. Let me see if I can show you. I was a bit worried that it was going to mess up the striping, because obviously it's self-striping yarn. But it's not too bad, in fact. I mean, it might look hideously obvious once I've knit some more of the body, but I don't think it will. I think it'll be okay, because the stripes are slightly different widths anyway, because obviously you're knitting in the round. So as you increase the yoke and the sleeves, your stripes get narrower. So I think it won't look too odd. It is a Flax Light, but I have dubbed it my 1970s jumper because, I mean, those colours. All I need is some purple flares to go with it and I'm away. I hop in my time machine and I'm gone. So what I think I'm going to do with the sleeves is, rather than decrease as I go down them, I'm going to put almost a bell sleeve on them, which I think will be in keeping with the sort of 70s theme. So I'm just going to knit to the length I want and then decrease very rapidly over a couple of rows and then put the ribbing on. And I might put a slightly longer ribbing, so maybe two, I don't know, perhaps do a 3 or 4 inch ribbing just to give them a bit more of a vintage vibe. So that's my plans for that. It looks huge, but as I say, I tried it on. It is a little bit big, but I think it'll be okay. It's not going to be, we're not back in the 22 inches of positive ease situation that we were in before. That was very traumatizing, and I try not to think about too much. So that's that progress. The other thing, well, I'm not even sure if it's progress or not. It's kind of negative progress. I'm knitting, where is it? Let me find the pattern. Sorry, I've gone again. Just talk amongst yourselves. Right, I'm knitting this Sirdar pattern. This one. And I'm knitting it in green yarn, which is, it's 100% acrylic and it's shade 845. Now it's knitted bottom up in pieces, and I thought I would be clever and do it bottom up but all in one. And I knit quite far, probably up to where the lady's elbows are, and then I stopped knitting on it because I just felt it wasn't right. I can't put my finger on what wasn't right, but I wasn't knitting it because I just had that feeling. So I pulled it down, which quite honestly was the last thing I wanted to do with a new cast on party coming up, and this being something that I cast on at the last cast on party. So I'm back to square one with it. I've cast it on as it should be, and I'm knitting it in pieces. So I've got that much back. But I think it will look nicer because it's self-striping, obviously. well, you can see how much I've wound back round the ball. I think the stripes will be more obvious because they will be wider, because they're only, the yarn is only being used for half the distance, so the stripes will be deeper. And they are beautiful colours. I was just about to say they're my favourite colours again, but they are that dark variegated, that same as the socks, it's just very me. So I think it's worth having pulled it down and restarted it, even though there's a cast on party coming up, during which I'm going to cast on 4 more sweaters. No, 3 more sweaters and a cowl. So they'll all go into the rotation. It'll get done as it gets done, and you know, there's no desperate hurry for it. It's a winter jumper. I'm probably not going to want it this side of autumn, so I just take my time with these things. I think that's all the knitting type content I've got to show you today. I desperately want to do some sewing. I have to be in the mood to sew, and I'm in the mood to sew and not allowing myself because I want to get things finished before the cast on party. But I've got a dress that, oh gosh, I'm going to show you. I know this is a knitting podcast, but hang on, let me pause you while I get it. Right, I bought this dress last spring and I tried it on. I was going to wear it one day last summer when I don't know what we were doing, but the sleeves were elasticated and they were so tight. And also it had in the top of the sleeve like a little, almost like a little shoulder pad, but orientated to hold the puff of the sleeve up, and I didn't like that. I'm too old for that and too wide for that. I did not need it. So I thought, well, I'll take the elastic out the sleeves, but I never got round to it. And I got round to it a few weeks ago, and lovely dress all ready for the summer, I thought. Popped it on just to check the length of the sleeves and discovered that it's got 2 right sleeves in it. Now, if you don't sew, you won't know what that means. If you just knit, mostly garments that you knit, the sleeves are symmetrical. The top of the sleeve is symmetrical. Whether it's a set-in sleeve or a raglan, the shaping on both sides is the same. Very often with sewn garments, you have more fabric on the back of the sleeve to allow for your arms to move and what have you. So you will have a right sleeve and a left sleeve. The left sleeve will have, well, they both have shorter distances on the front of the sleeve than on the back of the sleeve. Somehow I've managed to buy a dress with 2 right sleeves. So this one, actually let me show you the correct one first. This one has very little gathering up at the top on the front, and all the gathering is on the back of the sleeve. This one has all the gathering on the front of the sleeve and very little on the back of the sleeve. So it has 2 right sleeves in it. And you can see by the way it hangs, if I turn it around, it's trying to hang the wrong way. So that shorter distance should be at the front of the dress, not at the back, which is how it is on the correct sleeve. That's the back. That's the back of the wrong sleeve. It can only happen to me. So this dress has sat in here for weeks while I decide whether I'm going to take the sleeves out, bind the armholes and just have a sleeveless dress, or whether I'm going to take the sleeves out properly and recut one of them, see if I can recut one of them to have 2 different sleeves, a right sleeve and a left sleeve. if that fails, if I can't do it from the fabric of the sleeve itself, because they can be shorter, it has got quite a deep flounce. I can't think of what else to call it. What do you call that? Gathered bit on the bottom. It's a maxi dress. So I could recut the sleeve, take this off and recut the sleeve from that fabric. But it does seem a bit of a waste, because then I'd have kind of a knee-length dress, which is fine. I wear a lot of knee-length dresses. But it's wasting all that fabric to get one sleeve out of it. And I really want to get it sorted so I can wear it this summer, because I didn't wear it all of last summer. So I want to get that done. And I've also got project bags cut out over there that were cut out last summer that I didn't get round to sewing, because when I did the sock along last year, I cut out bags for prizes and also bags for myself, and made up the prize bags but didn't make up the ones for myself. And I've bought more fabric since then, so I would like to make some project bags, and I must get this dress finished. But at the moment I'm just too busy knitting, and I resent any time away from knitting to do sewing. It feels like my crafting time should be knitting related, which is silly. But yeah, so perhaps next week, after the cast on frenzy has passed, I'll try and get this dress sorted. Part of what's putting me off is the way the sleeves are sewn in. I mean, they are not intended to come out, and it's quite a delicate fabric. I could quite easily rip holes in the fabric while I'm trying to unpick the sleeves, so I might end up with a sleeveless dress. We'll see. I think it would be okay sleeveless. Just depends if the arm size very relatively low. Yeah, we'll see. I might have some room to take the bodice in. You don't need to know all of this. I'm just thinking out loud. So yeah, I thought about showing you what I'm going to cast on for the cast on party, but then I thought, well, no, I'll save that for next week. You can see all that next week, because I might yet change my mind and do something different. Even though I've wound wool and got bags and patterns and needles all together, I could well change my mind. It's not unheard of. So that really is everything for this week. Hopefully you are all well and enjoying yourselves with your knitting. The weather, well, certainly in this part of the country, has not been terribly conducive to outdoor things, but I think some places it's been a lot sunnier. It's just turned so cold again, really cold wind. But yeah, we're knitters, we have wool stuff. So I'm going to go, and I will see you again next week, post cast on party excitement. If any of you watching, I should have thought of this before, if any of you watching are interested in joining in with the cast on party, I will link Tonya below. Tonya from Calm as a Stitch is holding the cast on party, and you can go and contact her, watch her video, whatever, and yeah, you'll get the information on how to join in. Other than that, I will see you next week. Until then, stay safe, happy knitting, bye.